In Windchill and Creo Parametric, you can end up with ghost objects or incomplete objects when you are working with a model that has external references that are missing. Here is a CAD assembly that I have in my Windchill connected Creo session. If I go to the reference viewer, I can see that there is a few missing models, quite a few missing references. The total number is 222, quite a few. If I go to my workspace where I've saved this new object and then scroll down in the list, here you can see a couple examples of those ghost objects. They're indicated by this symbol, which kind of looks like a ghost. It's a torn sheet of paper, a ripped document. And so there are external references to these two assemblies, and we don't know where those assemblies are. So there are a few different methods that you can use when you are trying to take care of these ghosts. And the first, probably the best way, is to locate those original files. If you can find them, then put them into Windchill, then this particular model will be able to find its references. But a lot of times that is not possible. A lot of times you will get a model from a vendor or supplier or a partner, and they have no idea where the original source files are for those external references. You might not be able to get to them. So let's take a look at how you can solve the problems and break those references to the ghost objects. Let's do a little bit of ghost busting. So I have the assembly. First, I'm going to start with the very first missing reference that I can find. I will right click on it and then go to Information Reference Viewer. This is another way to get to the command. Let's move the dialog box to the center and make it a little bit wider. So I can see that it's missing a bunch of references to this guts and top assembly. And I will expand it. Let's start with the first missing reference in here. Usually what I do is right click on it and choose Display Full Path. We get this dialog box that shows the missing reference so we can see which model is pointing to the missing references, and its protrusion ID 23997 is the first feature that has an issue. So let's locate that part. Here it is, and I'm going to open it up in its own separate window. And now I'm going to start breaking external references, and I'll use a few different methods to do this. As I noted, there's over 222 in this assembly. At some point after I show you a few different techniques, I am going to take some shortcuts and just get rid of a bunch of the external references. So once again, it was protrusion ID 23997. I'm just going to see if I can eyeball it in the model tree. This is quite an old part model, and so the way that they used to name features in the past was by sequentially adding an ID number on the end, and here I located it. So the first thing I will do is I will use Edit Definition to see how I can break the reference. And I can see that, okay, this looks like an extrude. If I go to the Placement tab, it has an internal sketch. I will click on the Edit button, and here we get a warning. It says, hey, this assembly is not present. Do you want me to unalign all external references? And this is a good way of breaking those external references. If you just click on the Yes button, and then we can go to our sketch references, we can see that is referencing the edge of a cut, but it's only partially placed. So in order for this sketch to be fully placed, a lot of times what I will do is I will pick some of the default datums and see which ones that it picks up. If I have a default coordinate system, maybe I will pick it, and then I'll click on the Solve button, and there we get a few more weak dimensions. You can make these weak dimensions strong if you want to, but for my purposes, I'm just trying to break these external references, and I will click the Close button and hit the check mark, and hit the check mark again, and hopefully we will not have a regeneration failure. We did not. Be aware sometimes that can happen. All right, first one taken care of, 221 to go. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them, but then I will go to Information and then Reference Viewer, and let's go to the next missing reference. Right click, Display Full Path. Okay, Surface ID 24714. Well, let's look for that. 27, what was it? 24,714. Okay, here it is, 24,714. So there's a missing surface. Once again, we can try to edit definition, but you can see that, it's just copying a surface, and we don't have that original surface. So there's not really much that we can do over here. Let's cancel out. What I like to do in this particular situation is use the collapse command. So with this one feature selected, I will go to the editing drop-down menu and choose collapse. And by default, it's set to collapse all geometrically related features. I'm just going to change this to range of features in order to take this surface feature and collapse it. And you have some options, features to keep and reorder. I'm just going to click the OK button. And now it took that surface and changed it into an independent geometry feature. If I right click on it and go to Information Reference Viewer, well, you can see that it is referencing a whole bunch of things in here, but none of them are missing. That's the important thing here with the independent geometry. It's another way of breaking those external references. And I did another video on how to use the collapse command. You can use it for, again, doing a mass breaking of external references. You can also use it for protecting your intellectual property. But then we just go through here and we're just going to take a look at the next problem. So let's go to cut 23,215. So let me close out of here. All right, here is the cut. And so it looks like it's in the middle of another cut that was removed, but once again, we will edit definition. And I'll go to the placement tab. Let's go to the edit button. Okay, so this one is missing a surface for the sketch plane and a surface for the orientation reference plane. There's nothing much I can do. I can try to maybe pick some other alternate reference, but that could end up moving the feature around. Again, this is a good situation for me at least, especially since this is a cut that ends up being in the middle of nowhere, just to collapse this one feature. So again, select the feature, editing, collapse, change to range of features, click the OK button. All right, let's take a look at a few others, and I may put some edits in here. If I'm using the same technique over and over again, then I will wait until I find something that allows me to show a new technique, and then I will do that. And so, okay, here is that same protrusion that came up again. It's got another issue now. That was the first one that I took care of. So again, if I have the same feature that shows up more than once, then I'll use the situation where I will just collapse that feature entirely. Okay, here it is. Once again, editing, collapse. Just change it to range of features for that one feature. And as I continue on in here with a few more of these, just want to mention that one way to prevent these problems is by using data sharing features like your copy geometry features, also using your shrink wrap features for bringing these references in, because your data sharing features have the ability to have their dependency turned off. Here we're using something called direct external references, or what I like to call direct external references, and these are the kinds of problems that you end up with. So take a look at this one. All right, that looks okay. Let's go to placement, edit. Once again, it will automatically allow us to unalign all references. Let me go to the references. It's fully placed. In this particular situation, it's just using a couple of the early datum planes, and it's giving some weak dimensions for locating that feature. That's fine. Hit the check mark and hit the check mark again. And that's another one of those references that we took care of. And so at this point, yeah, I will put a break in the video here. I'm going to break a bunch of other different external references, and I will come back when I've got a new technique to show you. Okay, here is another feature with a different technique that I can show you. We have a datum plane DTM39 that has an external reference. If I try to edit definition, well, it's missing an axis and a surface for locating it. So maybe I'm just going to dimension it from one of my other datum planes. Here's DTM1. It's got a low number, so it's probably early in the model tree. Let's do analysis and then measure a distance from DTM1 to DTM39. Here we can see that it is a distance of 3.425. You can right click on the value and then choose copy. And now I can edit definition of DTM39. And let's remove the current references and then grab DTM1, move it out over here, right click over the value and choose paste, and then click hit the enter key so it takes the value, and then click OK. And so that way we end up getting the datum plane in the same location it originally was, but it no longer has an external reference. Alright, so I now have no parents found listed for this individual part. In other words, I broke all those missing external references using that variety of techniques. That's good. Let's now get out of this particular component. This assembly really needs some layers for controlling the datum plane visibility. But then again, at this point, I would then go to the top level assembly, once again, information reference viewer, and figure out the next component that has missing references. By the way, I'm down to 194, making a little bit of progress. And so now I can see the next issue is with the case bottom part. Then I would go to that particular component and then go about breaking its external references. All right, the next one that came up dealt with protrusion ID1. This is another thing that you will see in older models. The very first feature is, in this case, a protrusion, a feature that adds material. There used to be techniques back in the day that people would use where the very first feature, rather than being default datum planes or default coordinate system, was something that actually added or removed material. It was a way of getting a lot of geometry into the part to begin with. And again, the best thing I can do in this situation is just collapse that particular feature because it's probably got a whole bunch of other external references. Now this one ended up causing a failure. Let's take a look at this particular cut. Edit definition, and we'll go to the placement tab. We'll edit the sketch, and it's missing a couple of edges. Let's delete those edge references. Try solving. It's fully placed. And again, it's not as parametric as it originally was because it was using these external references to other parts, but we don't have those parts anymore, so who knows what to do. All right, so once again, we're now at no parents found for this other part. And to save time, I just started collapsing the features as they came up. So now we can go here, information reference viewer, and we're down to 161. Hey, making progress. So let's see the next part that has issues. Okay, the bottom nose part. Let's take care of that one. All right, another part taken care of. Let's go back to the assembly. And at some point, I'm just going to collapse all the features, especially in some of these smaller components. I did a dry run of this and found that, yeah, some of them just have so many external references that are just not capable of being broken. So for example, here we have the reset button. I think that's a fairly small component, which has a lot of just tied in references. For this particular one, I will just do editing and then collapse and all geometrically related features. Oh, doesn't like that one. Let's try to see which is causing the issue. Information reference viewer and missing reference, display full path, protrusion ID 592. Since it didn't like doing all of them, let's try to just do that one individual feature. Editing, collapse. Now it's giving me all the features in here. That's weird. Let's click the OK button. So now everything is collapsed down to this. This is another copied surface. I think this is going to cause me an issue later on. So let's collapse this one individually just to be safe. That way, here we have the part's got some default datums and then just a bunch of independent geometry. If we want to edit this in the future, we'll probably have to use flexible modeling in order to do it. But sometimes when you have these bad missing external references, there's just really not much that you can do. Okay, down to 126, almost 100. All right, here's another situation. I collapsed a bunch of features, started getting some regeneration failures. I see that we have some features here that are suppressed. Then we have a bunch of datums and other surfaces failing. I have no idea what these are used for. It doesn't look like they are generating any solid geometry. There are no merges, thickens, or solidifies or anything using them for. So in this particular situation, again, since I don't understand the original design intent, I'm just going to delete those problems in order to take care of them. All right, so now everything has been taken care of. We went from over 200 missing references down to 0. It's saying no parents found. This is good. Looks like I need to do a regeneration. Oh, some other stuff is failing in here. Let me go to the particular components. Yeah, there's... Okay, so it's missing some placement references. Just for simplicity, I am just going to get rid of that missing constraint. Really, I would take care of this in the real world, but for the sake of this demonstration, I will figure that out later on. Let's just leave it partially constrained. All right, let's hit the save button. And then I can go to my workspace. All right, now I am looking at my workspace. Since we took care of all the issues, let me try to remove the ghost objects. And the warning triangle. Let me click the OK button. Remove from workspace succeeded. And now I can specify the folder I want everything to be checked into. Let's go to Pick an Action, Edit Preferences, and let's choose for the location. I made a copy of the object because I didn't want to affect the original one that I was playing around with before. So let's create a new folder and specify that as the target folder for the CAD documents. Let's click the OK button out of here. And let me go to my top level assembly. Let's check this one in. And everything's going to the right folder. I will click on the next button and I will auto associate the WT parts. For now, I'm not going to check the auto resolve because I shouldn't have any incomplete objects. If I do have an issue, hey, I'll go back and change this to always ignore. Let's click the finish button. And there we have the check in succeeded. I don't have any issues with ghosts anymore. So again, You can try to edit definition of the features. If that doesn't work and you just need to break the external references, you can try using the collapse command and also any other techniques that you have in order to use local native references as opposed to having external references to a file that doesn't exist. Once again, if you can use data sharing features for designing with external references, that is much preferable and can help avoid all these different problems. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more information, please visit www.creowindchill.com. If you learned something from this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, please click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be informed when new videos are uploaded. Thank you very much.